Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm delighted to have you here today. Today, we will explore the fascinating topic of incorporation of recovery processes in herbal formulations and its impact on shelf life. This presentation will cover the key concepts behind recovery processes, how they can be integrated into herbal products, and what this means for product stability and longevity. So, let's dive in and discover how these innovative approaches can enhance herbal formulations and extend their shelf life. Welcome to this part of the presentation. Today, I want to talk about herbal formulations, which come in various forms like extracts, syrups, oils, powders, and semi-solids. These are quite diverse, and what's interesting is that they all contain complex mixtures of phytoconstituents. These are the active compounds derived from plants that give these formulations their therapeutic properties. One key point to remember is that these mixtures are highly variable. This variability is mainly due to their natural origin. Plants naturally have different chemical profiles depending on several factors. Environmental factors, such as climate, soil conditions, and even the time of harvest, can influence the composition. Additionally, the processing conditions during extraction and formulation also play a significant role in determining the final product's characteristics. Now, compared to synthetic drugs, the stability and shelf life of herbal formulations are more challenging. Because of their complex and variable composition, ensuring long-term stability can be tricky. This makes standardization and quality control more complicated, but understanding these challenges is crucial for developing effective and reliable herbal medicines. So, in essence, while herbal formulations offer a rich diversity of active compounds, their variability and stability issues pose unique challenges in the pharmaceutical landscape. Recognizing these points helps us appreciate the complexity behind herbal medicine development and quality assurance. Let's take a closer look at the regulatory framework that guides herbal medicines. First, we have the WHO guidelines for herbal medicines, which provide international standards and best practices to ensure safety and efficacy. In India, the AYUSH regulations specifically govern the manufacturing and quality of herbal products, aligning with national health policies. We also refer to the ICHQ 1A, R2 guidelines, which focus on stability principles. These are applied where relevant to herbal medicines to determine their shelf life and storage conditions. Additionally, pharmacopoeial standards from sources like the Indian Pharmacopoeia and Ayurvedic Pharmacopoeia set the quality benchmarks for raw materials and finished products. A key emphasis across these frameworks is on ensuring the identity, purity, and strength of herbal medicines. Microbial quality is also critically important, so testing for microbial contamination helps guarantee safety. Lastly, stability data is essential for accurately assigning shelf life, ensuring that products remain effective and safe throughout their storage period. All of these elements come together to uphold the quality and reliability of herbal medicines within a robust regulatory landscape. Let's talk about what we mean by recovery processes in this context. Essentially, these are the steps we take to optimize our extraction and production workflows. For instance, re-extracting plant material can help us maximize yield from raw resources. Solvent recovery and reuse are also critical, not only to reduce waste, but to improve efficiency and sustainability. Reprocessing batches might be necessary to ensure consistency or to correct any issues that arise during initial processing. Additionally, blending different batches allows us to fine-tune the potency of our final product. Now, it's important to emphasize that all these recovery steps must be carefully managed. They should never alter the phytochemical profile of the product, because maintaining the integrity of the bioactive compounds is essential for quality and efficacy. Plus, any recovery or reprocessing activities must be justified and properly documented. This ensures transparency, regulatory compliance, and helps us track the quality of our processes throughout production. Overall, these recovery processes are integral to achieving a high-quality, consistent product while adhering to strict standards. They support our goal of delivering safe, effective, and reliable products to consumers. Let's talk about the stability challenges we face with multi-component systems. Because these systems are made up of various ingredients, their degradation can become unpredictable, making it harder to ensure consistent quality over time. They are particularly sensitive to environmental factors like light, which can cause photodegradation, and heat, which can lead to volatile loss of certain components. Moisture is another critical factor, as it can promote microbial growth, further destabilizing the formulation. It's also important to note that attempts to recover or reformulate these products might sometimes cause additional destabilization, so careful handling is essential. Now, when we consider the critical quality attributes, or CQAs, especially for herbal products, several key parameters come into play. These include the content of marker compounds, which are indicative of the product's potency, the phytochemical profile or fingerprinting, which helps ensure consistency, moisture content, which affects stability, microbial load to guarantee safety, and pH levels in liquid formulations, which influence both stability and efficacy. All of these factors can vary, and such variability directly impacts the shelf life of the product. So, maintaining control over these attributes is vital for delivering a stable, effective herbal product to consumers. Let's take a closer look at the mechanisms of impact of recovery. What this means is understanding how recovery actually influences individuals and communities. First, recovery can directly improve mental and physical health, helping people regain their strength and stability. But beyond that, it also fosters hope and resilience, which are crucial for sustaining long-term well-being. These positive changes then create a ripple effect, encouraging social reintegration and boosting community cohesion. When people see that recovery is possible, it inspires others to pursue their own paths toward health and stability. So, in essence, these mechanisms work together to support not just individual healing, but also broader societal renewal, which ties back to our overall theme of fostering sustainable recovery processes. Let's take a closer look at this example to understand how processing can impact shelf life. Here, we're looking at a marker compound, curcumin, which is an herbal extract. Before any recovery process, the rate constant, or K, is 0.002 per month, which corresponds to a shelf life, T90, of about 52.5 months. This means that under normal storage conditions, we can expect the product to remain stable for over 4 years. However, after recovery, meaning after repeated processing, the rate constant increases to 0.006 per month. This higher K value indicates that the compound degrades faster, and as a result, the shelf life drops dramatically to just 17.5 months. What this really highlights is that repeated processing or recovery steps can significantly reduce the stability of herbal extracts like curcumin. This is a crucial point because it shows how manufacturing and processing can impact the longevity and quality of the final product, which ties back to our overall theme of ensuring product stability and effectiveness. Let's talk about the microbial load impact on herbal products. As many of you know, herbal products tend to have a high microbial risk, which means they can easily become contaminated with bacteria, yeast, or mold. This is a crucial point because the level of microbes can increase under certain conditions. Recovery of microbes, for example, can go up with longer exposure times or more handling steps during processing. The more we handle or expose the product, the higher the chance for microbial growth. That's why controlling these factors is so important. Now, from a regulatory perspective, there are typical limits set for microbial counts. These include total aerobic count, which measures the overall number of bacteria that can grow in oxygen, and limits for yeast and mold. Staying within these limits is essential because exceeding them doesn't just mean potential contamination. It can actually reduce the shelf life of the product. So, in summary, managing microbial load isn't just about safety. It's also about maintaining the quality and longevity of herbal products. Ensuring we stay within regulatory limits helps us deliver safe, effective, and stable products to consumers. Now, let's take a closer look at the stability study design. We typically conduct these studies under two main conditions: long-term and accelerated. The long-term studies are usually done at 25 degrees Celsius with 60% relative humidity, which reflects real-world storage conditions. On the other hand, accelerated studies are performed at 40 degrees Celsius with 75% relative humidity. These help us predict how the product might behave over time under more stressful conditions. During these studies, we evaluate several critical parameters. First, we look at the marker compound to see if its concentration remains stable. It's also important to monitor the microbial load to ensure safety and quality aren't compromised. Moisture content is another key factor, as it can influence stability and shelf life. We also assess organoleptic properties, things like appearance, smell, and texture, to detect any sensory changes. Finally, we compare the recovered product after storage to the original batch. This comparison helps us understand what, if any, changes have occurred during the storage period. All of these evaluations are crucial for ensuring the product maintains its efficacy, safety, and quality throughout its shelf life, which ties directly into our overall goal of delivering reliable and consistent products to consumers. Let's take a look at this hypothetical case study involving a herbal cough syrup. This example will help us understand how the concepts we've discussed so far can be applied in a real-world context. We'll explore the product's key features, target audience, and potential market positioning. By doing so, we can see how effective branding and marketing strategies come together to support a product's success. This case study highlights the importance of understanding consumer needs and leveraging unique selling points, which ties back to our overall theme of strategic product development. So, let's dive into the details and see how these ideas come to life in this example. Let's talk about the regulatory considerations we need to keep in mind. Recovery is only acceptable if certain conditions are met. First, there should be no change in the phytochemical profile of the product. This is crucial because any alteration could affect the efficacy or safety. Second, stability must be maintained throughout the process, ensuring the product remains effective and safe over its shelf life. Third, microbial limits need to be controlled to prevent contamination and ensure safety. If these conditions aren't met, there could be serious consequences. For example, we might have to reduce the shelf life, which can impact product availability and consumer trust. Alternatively, the product could be rejected altogether, which is costly and disruptive. So, ensuring these key factors are maintained is vital for regulatory compliance and maintaining product integrity. Let's wrap up by emphasizing that herbal formulations are inherently complex and highly variable systems. This means that when we work with these products, we need to consider their unique characteristics and the potential challenges they present. Recovery processes, which are often necessary to restore or preserve these formulations, can introduce certain risks. For example, chemical degradation can occur if the process isn't carefully controlled, and there's also the risk of moisture and microbial contamination, which can compromise safety. Therefore, establishing an appropriate shelf life is crucial. This shelf life should be based on the stability of key markers, those indicators that tell us if the product remains effective, and also on microbial control measures to prevent contamination over time. Importantly, recovery should only be considered acceptable if it doesn't compromise quality, safety, or shelf life. And of course, all of this must be backed by full regulatory justification to ensure compliance and consumer trust. In essence, our goal is to maintain the integrity of herbal products throughout their life cycle, balancing recovery efforts with rigorous safety and quality standards. For further support, please don't hesitate to contact us. We're here to help with any questions or additional information you might need. Thank you so much for your attention and engagement throughout this presentation. I truly appreciate your time, and I hope you found the content valuable and insightful. Remember, we're committed to supporting you beyond this session, so feel free to reach out whenever you need assistance. Thanks again, and have a great day.